So, this is part 2 of the Mr. Men Annual. Now, this is where I was last time, and it will continue now. Spot the difference. Out of all of these Mr. Uniques and Mr. One-of-a-Kinds, which one is different? Fun facts. Mr. Unique. Mr. Unique is unique. He is shaped in an unusual shape and he talks in rhyme all of the time with a squeak. He eats everything with ambrosia custard. Mr. One-of-a-Kind. Mr. One-of-a-Kind is the exact same as Mr. Unique, but he eats everything with mustard instead of ambrosia custard. Mr. Calm. Mr. Calm is the calmest person in the whole wide world. He barely ever opens his eyes. He is so calm, he was once asleep for 9 whole fortnights. Mr. Awkward. Mr. Awkward, as you might have guessed, is awkward. He sleeps in the top bunk of a bunk bed with no ladder, with no one sleeping in the bottom bunk. He also eats his cornflakes with a fork. Mr. Chocolate. Mr. Chocolate is made out of mouth-watering chocolate, but whatever you do, don't eat him! Everyone tries to do so, but they must not! He isn't even edible, so don't eat him! Understand? Mr. Rainbow. Mr. Rainbow is the cousin of Mr. Daydream. He has a rainbow-coloured hat that he thinks he is not himself without. I love his hat. Do you? Mr. Friendly. Mr. Friendly is, well, you know, don't you? He was once bad. He ate all of Mr. Chocolate's food he made for his tea party. He was very sorry for himself. Mr. Star. Mr. Star who is obviously a star, is up in the sky every single 19th of November. He's the most special person in the whole wide world, or WWW. Mr. Sloppy. Mr. Sloppy is the cousin of Mr. Messy. They look similar. The only difference is that Mr. Messy is pink and Mr. Sloppy is blue. Mr. Surprise. Mr. Surprise loves surprising people constantly. One day, he surprised 10 people in one day. A 10-in-1 surprise party. Mr. Curmudgeon. Mr. Curmudgeon is too angry. Nobody is angrier than Mr. Curmudgeon. He is screaming livid. Not even Mr. Grumpy is angrier than him. Mr. Vexatious. Mr. Vexatious is basically Mr. Curmudgeon, but less angry. He almost ate Mr. Chocolate once, but don't worry, he didn't eat him for real. The Pinks. Mr. Scrumptious. Mr. Scrumptious has a cake cat. He is one of the members of the Hungry Five, along with Messrs. Chocolate, Awkward, Unique, and One-of-a-Kind. Mr. Naughty. Mr. Naughty is, but he is nowhere near as bad as Mr. Vexatious and Mr. Curmudgeon. He's just Wilfred the Wizard. Wilfred the Wizard is filled up with good magic spells in his brain. He helped Mr. Chocolate when Mr. Greedy almost ate him, Mr. Curmudgeon when he was far too grumpy, and Mr. Rainbow when he lost his hat. Mr. Calm and the Christmas Tree. Sorry, it's not the right season for this one. It was Christmas Eve, which is the day before Christmas Eve in Mr. Everyone there was too excited. Everyone, that is, except for Mr. Vexatious and Mr. Curmudgeon. We're not excited. They wrote a door locker on their Christmas lists so that it would be impossible to get in their house if they ignore the Do Not Enter sign. Mr. Awkward thought that Mr. Calm was a Christmas tree, so he put him up. He used Mr. Star, well, you know, as a star to put on top of the tree. Don't I look silly with a star on my head? Said Mr. Calm. Then they decorated him with ornaments and tinsel. Stop it! Exclaimed Mr. Calm. I don't feel so good. But they kept on doing it. The next day was Christmas Eve. They put a mince pie for Father Christmas, and they put a carrot for a reindeer, but Mr. Scrumptious ate them both. Mr. Mean was busy wrapping up 100 lumps of coal for all the good people in Mr. Land. What a meanie! Just who are you calling a meanie? This is what Mr. Messy and Mr. Sloppy wrote on their Christmas lists. 100 goo pots, 20 stinky carrots, 2 fart guns, 88 ink pots. This is what Mr. Unique and Mr. One-of-a-Kind wrote on their Christmas lists. 10 pots of custard, 10 pots of mustard. This is what Little Miss Neat and Little Miss Tidy wrote on their Christmas lists. 100 brooms, vacuums, mops, wipes and tissues. Mr. Fussy wrote the same. They were all really excited for their presents. They hopped into their beds feeling more excited than usual. But me and Mr. Vexatious aren't excited. Mr. Calm desperately wanted to have a sleep, but of course he couldn't, because he was the Christmas tree. Mr. Busy and Little Miss Busy had to make some more mince pies and carrots. They sure do love being busy, don't they? Don't they? Don't they? Father Christmas, Mr. Christmas, Little Miss Christmas and Mr. Snow came that night to deliver the presents. In the morning, everyone had a bunch of presents by their door. After breakfast, they opened them. Mr. Calm had an alarm clock with no hands. Mr. Lazy was jealous. Mr. Lazy had a go-to-bed all-day machine. Mr. Calm is even greener than usual. Green with envy, that is. And can you guess what Mr. Friendly got? A lump of coal from Mr. Mean. What a meanie. Mr. Calm and the Christmas tree quiz. Easy question. Who came to deliver the presents? Medium question. Who got a lump of coal? Hard question. Who thought that Mr. Calm was a Christmas tree? Jokes. What makes the tree noisy? Dunno. It's bark. Did you hear the one about the constipated mathematician? Dunno. He works it out with a pencil. Doctor, doctor, I've got wind. Here's a kite. And here they are. answers. We are so very good dancers. Answers. Mr. Unique in the Unicycle quiz. Easy question. Mr. One of a Kind. Medium question. Mr. Bump. Hard question. Mr. Chocolate. Mr. Awkward and the Funfair quiz. Easy question. Mr. One of a Kind. Medium question. Mr. Vexatious. Hard question. Mr. Chocolate. Mr. Calm and the Christmas Tree quiz. Easy question. Father Christmas, Mr. Christmas, Little Miss Christmas and Mr. Snow. Medium question, which I forgot to put a colon after, Mr. Friendly. Hard question, Mr. Awkward. Goodbye. Meet the Mr. and this is the back cover. Meet the Mr. Men in this big 72-page Daniel filled with the great activities and stories. Dum dum ba dum ba dum da dum 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 da dum 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 da dum ba dum dum da dum ba dum dum da dum da 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 da.